Hey everybody, Marcus Crawford here with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. A shout out to drone enthusiasts everywhere, and as always, a shout out to all my friends at the Drone Seekers. Hey, so I've got the Mavic Mini again today, and it occurred to me that return to home for a new flyer or a new drone pilot might be something that is worth familiarizing yourself with. So I'm going to step through the various ways you can initiate return to home with the Mavic Mini and the different ways that it can work for you, how to cancel it, etc. There's more to it than you might think. Even some people that have been flying the Mini for a while might learn some new tricks here. So let's quit messing around, let's get the thing in the air, and let's walk through some of the return to home procedures and how you can change them, etc. Okay, so I got the drone started up and we're all connected. The only thing that it did require me to do a compass calibration, so I did that. If the app asks you to do a calibration, you really should do it. That's a way to keep from losing your drone. But in any case, let's quit messing around. Let's take off. I'm going to start video now, and I'm in 2.7K 30 frames per second. I'm going to take off on the app here. Hit the takeoff button. Hold down the button in the center of the screen as soon as it turns green. And there's the little Mini. A note about weather conditions today. It's showing winds of about 7 miles an hour with gusts up to 12. I'm telling you, I'm feeling no wind now, so I think the weather report was a little off. But in any case, let's get a look at the drone like I always like to do. We're going to run it up to, I've got the GoPro here, so we're going to run it up to the GoPro. Give the GoPro a good look at it. Boy, as you can hear, we've got a bunch of geese flying overhead, and they're flying pretty low too. That could probably do some damage to the little Mini. So, like I usually do, let's start this video with a reverse droney, or as I call it, up and away, and I'm just going to do it manually. So reverse and up. Of course, we're looking into the sun here, and boy, there's a bunch of geese up there. I'm telling you, they are right about the height of my drone too. So let's hope we avoid any waterfowl encounters here. But in any case, so let's just start out by demonstrating a regular return to home. And so I'm going to point out before we do a return to home how you set your return to home height. So you'll see the 3 dots in the top right hand corner of your screen. Click on those 3 dots. You should all be familiar with those by now. The very first tab is safety, and that tells you max altitude, max distance, and auto return to home altitude. Now the one that we're concerned with here is that return to home altitude. I set mine at 60 meters, which is about, I don't know, 190 feet or so, something like that. Now, a lot of people will tell you that's pretty high. I do that on purpose because I like to have the return to home set far enough up there that if there's any trees, any obstacles, the drone is going to be well above them. So without any ado, let's talk about how we can initiate return to home. We can do that on the app on the left hand side here, the little icon that shows the arrow at the home point, or on the controller itself. In this case, let's start it with the controller. So we're going to hit return to home now. and you can hear it beeping. And I want you to note that you see the red X there on the left hand side of the screen. You can stop return to home with that, or by simply tapping that button again on the controller. So I want to warn you, you're going to hear a lot of beeping in this video, and there really is no way to disable that beeping. And a lot of people have told me that you simply press the power button once and it'll stop. So I don't know, you can hear the beeping. I'll do that right now. Press the power button, it's still beeping. The other thing people have said is you can hit the return to home button again and it'll stop beeping. All that does is stop it from returning to home. It does stop the beeping, but it also stops the drone from coming back. So it's coming down. I adjusted the GoPro down a little there so we make sure we catch it. It's going to be pretty close here. Now mind you, this drone does not have precision landing. So, you know, as close as it gets to, yeah, so it's telling me that it's unsuitable. It doesn't like what it sees down there. We're going to go ahead and hit OK, because it's just going to hit the grass. Well, I guess it's going to tell me that I have to land it myself, so we will. I don't know what it didn't like about the grass, but it evidently didn't like it, so. So I just held the left stick down and we landed it. Takeoff is permitted, so I'm going to turn the drone around and we'll take off again. And I'm going to go out, and this time we'll initiate return to home with the icon on the screen. I switched it to S mode just for the fun of it. Okay, so this time we're going to hit return to home on the screen. So you just simply, on the left hand side, hit that return to home button, and it'll give you, well, it gives you the option to just land in place if you want, or if you hold on the left hand side, if you hold the right one down, it will return to home, which is what we want. So you see the drone turning around there, and it's ascending to its 60-meter return to home height. So I'm going to, just for a second here, I'm going to prove the theory about stopping the beeping. I'm going to hit the return to home button on the drone, and all that does is cancel return to home. So I've had a number of people tell me that, oh, if you just hit that button again, it'll stop the beeping. Well, it does stop the beeping, but it also stops return to home. So, so let's back it off again here. And we'll reinitiate that return to home. So I want to see how fast that we're in sport mode. I want to see if when you're in sport mode, if the drone will achieve sport mode speeds. So that would be anything above 8 meters per second. So again, hitting the return to home on the right hand side, holding that button down, and here it comes. And I'm looking at the speed here to see how fast it'll go. Yeah, and it didn't appear to exceed that 8 meters per second that it would in P mode. So I guess I'm going to say that even if you're in sport mode, the drone is just going to return to home in P mode. We'll see how close it gets this time, and we'll see if it actually will land instead of giving me that unsuitable landing spot like it did before. Like I said, you do need to pay attention because this drone does not have precision landing. And you cannot expect it to land on the pad. Now it's continuing to come down. It liked its landing spot this time, and it's got one leg on the pad and 3 legs off. But it landed in the grass, and And we might have mowed a little grass, but we're okay there. So let's take off again. Okay, so I went out there quite a ways this time, about a little over 140 meters, and we're about 36 meters high. Now, there are some secrets that the little Mini holds for return to home. For instance, and I'm going to walk away from the camera here. I'm going to go further out into the field, and we can have it tell it to land where the remote control is, and let's demonstrate that. Okay, we're further out in the field, and I'm going to show you how to tell it to land where the controller is, not where it took off from. So the 3 dots up in the right hand corner again, and you can go down to update home point, and that brings up a map. And on that map you can tell it where you want it to land at manually, or by punching the little icon that looks like a controller, you can tell it to come back to where the controller is. So we're going to click OK. So we've updated the controller home point. We're going to hit return to home, and it should land right where I'm at right here. So it is. It's right above me, starting to come down. So say you were flying your drone and you were on your mountain bike or something and you moved to a different position. That's how you can update your home point so that it doesn't fly back to wherever it is you took off from. So we're just going to let it land here. We're going to see how well it does. See if I can get a shot of it here. Sorry for the wobbly camera. And there she is, down in the grass. So what the drone did was return to where the controller is. We're going to take off one more time, and I'm going to show you some other tricks. So another thing that you can do is you can actually tell the drone, you can, on the map, move the landing spot around. So we're going to show you how to do that. So if you hit the 3 dots in the top right hand corner of the app again, and then you scroll down under the safety tab down to update home point. That's right below the auto return to home altitude. So if you click that arrow that's on the right hand side, it takes you into a map. So what you can do is you can actually drag the home point to where you want it. So in this case, I'm going to see if I can get it out in the middle of the basketball court over here. So we're going to give that a shot, and we'll see how accurate it is. So I'm going to head over to the basketball court with the GoPro camera, and we'll see if it'll land there. So I got the GoPro on a tripod here, so I don't know how smooth this will be, but yeah, we're heading over to the basketball court, which is some ways away. Okay, so it looks like I've got the home point kind of on the edge, so I'm going to move it a little bit more towards the center. Pretty darn fine adjustment there. But anyway, let's go ahead. We've moved it. Let's hit return to home now. It says home point adjusted. So we're going to hit return to home. And let's see if it lands back here on the basketball court. It's pointed at me, so I'm going to drop the gimbal a little bit so we get a little better picture. It's ascending to its 60-meter height. Yeah, it's coming down. See if I can get the camera on it here. I'm going to move a little closer. So, for some reason it's telling me unsuitable for landing. I suspect it's because it's just a plain, there's nothing that can differentiate there. So we're going to go ahead and just tell it to land here. We'll pull down on the stick, put the camera down a little bit. Okay, we've got one more trick yet to go. So I'm going to take off on the drone again, and I'll show you that. So we'll get the drone back over the main part of the park again, and we're going to walk back to our original takeoff point. Okay, so there's another trick, and I've got the camera pointed down on the drone here for a reason. So again, we'll click on those three dots in the top right hand corner, and again we're going to click on update home point, and we can tell the drone to land in place by simply clicking on what looks like the arrowhead icon there, and that is telling the drone that its return to home spot is right where it's at. So now we're going to hit return to home. I didn't hold it down long enough. I did it on the controller that time, and it's just coming straight down. So it's just going to land out there in the grass. Again, it's looking and trying to see if it's a suitable place to land, and it's saying that it doesn't like it. So for some reason it's not liking the grass or where I'm telling it to land at. So I'm going to click OK there, and I'll show you another way to accomplish the same thing. So now remember, we took off out on the basketball court there, and by telling it, clicking on that arrowhead looking icon on the map, we were telling it to land right where it was at. So there's another way of doing that. So I'm going to drop the camera here, and I'm going to bring it over the top of us closer, and we'll see if we can just tell it to land in place right where we're at here. So let's move forward. You know, just for the fun of it, let's try something here. I'm going to put the grid lines up on the screen here, if I can get into the, yeah, clicking on the camera here, and advanced shooting settings is where it's at. So I'm going to click that X, so X marks the spot, and we can put the dot. Heck, let's just open them all up there. So we have all the grid lines on our FPV screen now. So let's see if I can get it over the top of the landing pad here, and see if we can just tell it to land in place. And I've got it in cinema mode here, so we're moving pretty slow. Oh, there we are. Okay. So let's see if we can get right over the top of it. I don't know, this is tough to get this precise, guys. Okay, I mean, I'm thinking that's about as close as I'm going to get. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit return to home on the app. So just that in the left hand side there, that return to home icon, hold that down, and I'm just going to tell it on the left hand side to land. So let's see how accurate we are. See if I can land it on the pad that way. It's looking good. A little bit off. So it should raise the camera here. Say hi to the little drone. Yeah, and it says unsuitable for landing again. For some reason, it's not one to land. Every place that we're at here, it's saying unsuitable for landing. So We're going to click OK. Okay, the little Mavic Mini. We walked through some of the different ways you can return to home. Just by hitting the button on the controller, by hitting the button on your FPV screen, and then selecting on the right hand side return to home. If you just simply want it to land, there's the button on the left hand side that comes up. You hold that down and it will simply land in place. We showed you how to move your landing zone around on the map. We took it out and landed it out in the middle of the basketball court out there, and it did it perfectly. It's probably, I don't know how accurate you could get. If you expanded that map out, you might be able to get more accurate than what I did. But also, we did it where we told it to change the return to home point to the controller in that same way, in the menus, under safety. And then messed around a couple of times with the different ways to tell it to land in place. You can do it with that map in the safety menu again, simply by clicking on the little arrowhead icon, and it says, okay, that's my new home point, and it'll land right there. The easier way to do it is just to hit that return to home on the main FPV screen, and then on the left circle, hit that, and it will simply land in place. The one that I think is probably the most useful is the one that you can tell it to return to the controller. You know, say you're out doing something and you're moving while you're flying the drone, and you're in a different location than where you took off from. You could tell it to come down right there. Now, in several of those instances, you notice that it didn't like, for some reason, it didn't want to land all the way. It didn't like what it saw on the ground here, which I have no idea why. And so it didn't completely land. But you can force it by just simply holding that left stick down, and it will land. The other two things that we didn't talk about here, because they're tough to demonstrate, is that if you had a control loss, in other words, if you say your battery died on your controller, or for some reason the drone lost contact with the controller, it would on its own initiate a return to home, and it would go to wherever its home point was and land. The other thing is the out of range, which is essentially the same thing. If you flew this guy out of its range and it lost contact with the controller, it would on its own initiate a return to home and come back. Now, warning on both of those is, you know, you're going out someplace, make sure you have enough battery power that the drone can get back. But in any case, I think those are the main points of this video. I hope this helps you, and I guess that's about it. This is Marcus Crawford with the Idaho Quadcopter channel out. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Most of all, I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and we absolutely will see you on the next one. The little Mavic Mini, it is really a fun little drone, and yeah, if you haven't got one, get one. If you already have one, get out and fly. See ya.